Thank you for the background. It's so cute.
Yeah, no, I love this key art. So thank you for drawing it, whoever drew it.
Let's go ahead and get started. And I'll press record.
Yeah, well, hiyo, Yolo. Thank you guys for
Hello.
Hello, how's it going?
Michael, Todd, Sarah. Hello. Yeah, thank you for talking with me today. I've been a big fan of Yolo. I've really loved the first season. I really enjoyed rewatching and getting a chance to watch the second season, Silver Destiny. So excited to talk to you guys about this season and, you know, what's some of your favorite things working on it. So I think first off, though, I want to ask you, Michael, you know, you've been really busy. You've been making multiple shows at once with this new season of Yolo, Smiling Friends, and Koala Man. So what was it like juggling all those projects all at once? How did you manage it?
So it has been really busy and it takes up pretty much all my time, but I'm very lucky to have a lot of talented people around me that, can be like delegated to be in very kind of like key roles and kind of like have executive decisions and Smiling Friends, like co-create with Zach, so I'm lucky enough we share the load on that. And Koala Man is a very collaborative team. We've got showrunners on that, Dan Jimenez and Benji Semet, and same with Yolo. You know, it's we had such an amazing team, kind of taking command of a lot of various aspects of this. I'm still there, overseeing and part of the writing and all the aspects like that. But like I say, just a big team of great people around me. I'm very lucky.
Yeah, no, I mean, your team does fantastic work. One of the most striking things I found about watching the second season episodes is that I feel like the look of Yolo has become really more refined this season. In the first season, the characters, they could look very different shot to shot. I think that was very intentional and fun part of the style. I feel in this season, though, we have a little bit more of a consistency. We still get kind of crazier expression moments, but there seems to be a more of a solid look to the show. Was that something that you consciously thought about going in, or just you think may have just naturally happened as a part of, working on multiple productions?
I think it was pretty organic. Yolo, we try to, there's shows that help with the Toon Boom look and if it's puppeted, you still, shows like Rick and Morty, Koala Man, and all that. You use Toon Boom and it is puppeted, but you still we make that as interesting as we can with different, key drawings and everything like that, and try to spice up the animation. But the thing with Yolo is, and similar with same thing with Smiling Friends, is it's animated in Adobe Flash. Sorry, Animate now. It's not called Flash anymore. But the benefit to that is it's a little bit more craftier. Sometimes the drawings are actually bad, but that's on purpose for the comedy of it, and it just and Adult Swim has this same philosophy, but I like shows that feel a little bit outsider and feel like there could be drawings on a pencil case in school. There's something kind of fun about that, so it does have that, but then it's got really well animated and drawn things, because that works too with whatever the context of what the story is. It's a mix.
Yeah, for sure. And I appreciate it. It's always such a colorful, like visually exciting show. So, I mean, one of the questions I have is that, a lot of characters I heard you talk about for in Yolo, were based on ones that you and Todd and friends, you kind of came up with in jokey conversations lore and conversations deans. Were there like any particular characters you were really excited to finally kind of manifest in the season of Yolo that you guys had in your minds for a long time?
For me, Todd can speak to this probably more, but the characters in the reunion episode are fun. It's fun to get the rat in there from the original Yolo cartoons. Getting him in there was fun. The Shimothy Talme character in episode 4 was fun. It was, that's the best part about doing a show like this is just coming up with more strange characters, because it feels like anything can work. You can really think outside the box in terms of coming up with characters. Todd, did you?
Yeah, and bringing characters back, I think, from the original. I know some people were waiting for the Ratman to come back. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the characters sort of, I mean, they do sort of come up on the spot. I don't think it's funny with this show. It's very off the cuff. It's like we don't, if there's anything that was years planned, it would be quite a small deal. It would be an idea that's just kept with us for years and years, if whether or not it's a character or an idea. But mostly it's pretty much, it happens in the melting pot during the writers' session or during, really it gets down to me and Cusack doing the scripts and recording them and going, rinsing each line and going, is that funny? Is that funny? Making sure each line is funny. And I think it's more off the cuff. So everything's sort of, let's put this character in here. Let's put this character in here. Let's put this line in here, sort of thing. So yeah, it sort of happens organically,
Nice. And were there any characters that you kind of discovered through just acting it out? And this is a question that can involve all you guys. Like, you just came up with like, oh, here's a funny voice. Here's like a funny, take. And then the character evolves from that.
I think from one that pops into my mind is in the Parents episode, that musical episode. There's a guy that yells at the dad because he thinks that he works at the on the ceremony as like a dishwasher or something. And I think like on the day I was just stressed out, like with work or something, and in maybe a weird, not a grumpy mood, but just like a stressed out mood. And you'll hear it in the voice. Like it manifested just him, like that was just real. I think like whatever he was saying then was just me at the time, whatever I was feeling. I don't know, Todd, if you remember that.
Yeah, it was something like, I'm getting really stressed and I have anxiety or something like that.
yeah, in a jokey way. But like it's just insane. And like, it's fun, sometimes just a mood will manifest a character.
Yeah.
Which can be fun,
Yeah, that's what mostly happens. Yeah. I think it's it's pretty much like the line comes first. And then the one that comes to my head is the bee tradie. You can't be the empress, not a bee or something like that. Just sort of like it comes from doing the line first sort of thing.
Sarah, did you have anything on that? Or, I mean, I guess
I think there's less there's less sort of I think room for Sarah to sort of do that. Probably like the fun ones are maybe like when she's really drunk.
Yeah.
Like that's when I get to have a lot of fun and play with her. Yeah.
I always feel sorry for Sarah because the character of Sarah is very much the grounded, like she's essentially like the protagonist of the show. So everything around her is weird and crazy to kind of offset, her normality. So I guess it's not as fun, but hopefully it's still fulfilling.
Yeah, I love that we have a grounded character. Like you really help in terms of us like bouncing off something that feels a little bit more normal, sort of thing.
It makes the weird stuff better, I think, for that. And also Sarah's the main character, so I feel like it worked.
I think it's also fun. Like I think for me, what's fun as well is knowing like a lot of the time it's like the more truth I can actually find in the line, the less I try to be funny and the more I can just find the truth of it, the funnier it makes everybody else. And then it makes the next jokes funnier or the previous joke funnier. So I think like that's the joy for me.
If you've ever played World of Warcraft and you do a dungeon, it's like Sarah's like the priest. She's healing everyone while we do our silliness. We wouldn't be able to do it without Sarah there.
She's the grounding presence. Yeah, it's important to have a character like that, a prison show. And I really like Sarah's character and like her arc in the season of like trying to grow her garden. And I was just wondering, Sarah, like what were like some of your favorite moments kind of navigating Sarah's arc this season? I really liked the Ford episode in particular where we went inside her dream with that Imiti Shalme character. So what were some like favorite performance moments from the season and in Sarah's growth as a character?
Like episode 4 I just love. I love it so much. It was such a surprise when I read it. It's just such a joy. And then I think I don't want to give too much away, but I think towards the end of the series as things really come to a head with her garden, I think how that manifests in her relationship with Rachel and some of the conversations that she has with Rachel at the end were like really fun. And also like there was a lot of emotion there as well. Yeah, it was great. It's really exciting.
That's really cool to hear. Yolo is a series that's like really centered around the relationship and friendship of Sarah and Rachel. And in the first season, we kind of saw moments where that was tested towards the end of that season. And then even this season's kind of brought up, is Rachel a toxic friend to Sarah? So I'm really interested, I guess, in your guys' perspective on that and some things we might be able to expect of how Sarah and Rachel's relationship and friendship is explored this season.
So I think, personally, like I have been through toxic relationships. I've seen a lot of friends that have also been in toxic friendships, and it's just an interesting dynamic to explore because, like at the end of the day, the main question is like, why would you hang around someone that is toxic and you know it? Like when you even know it, it's like why? And that comes in that makes us explore, the insecurity of Sarah and feeling like this is what she deserves. And, also there's redeeming things to a toxic friend for some reason. And I found this myself. They tend to be more exciting and stimulating than maybe some safer friends. So, it's an interesting dynamic to explore because it's not so black and white. There's nuances to it.
That being said, Rachel definitely is a toxic friend, but yeah, it's sort of like there is love. There's love behind the behind the control and everything like that. But yeah, as Cusack said, it's like you've been in toxic relationships and know what that's like, and everybody goes, "Why are you friends with this person?" Well, you go, "There's something there." I know there's something there, and I can bring that out in them. So I think Sarah really brings that out in Rachel, as long as Rachel doesn't resist it. And, she loves to resist it. That's part of their story, I suppose. She's always resisting Sarah's lovely charm and going off and doing some horrible things on her own sort of thing and asking Sarah to come along and drag her down with her, basically. But yeah, in the end, the friendship is, it hopefully blossoms,
Yeah. Sarah, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think this show does a really good job of like really, it's a cliche term, but like putting female friendships under the microscope, and especially female friendships in their 20s. And it's a weird time where you're not with your family anymore. If you come from a town like Wollongong, there's still a lot of societal pressure to, get married and have kids and do those things. And I think your friends in that time, especially if you're single, your friend kind of becomes more than just a friend. They kind of become everything to you and your life. And I think that's why that toxic dynamic is so common, because you kind of need them and you turn a blind eye to these sides of them that aren't so great, because if you don't go and hang out with them, you might be at home on a Saturday night and that's a fate worse than death, or you've been taught that that's a fate worse than death. So that's why Sarah goes out with Rachel.
Yeah. It's really interesting to see how the show explores their friendship. I think definitely we've got a lot of sense of Rachel is very dependent on Sarah in a very like needy way, both in like the season 1 finale and then in that Ford episode where there was a chance of like Sarah being trapped in her dream and Rachel was like, now. All that stuff. So I just am interested in seeing where that relation goes, and the stuff that you're talking about at the end of the season, that heartfelt conversation, it's really exciting to me. But another thing that I find really excited about this season is that we have this kind of overarching continuing storyline for our main characters here. Sarah's garden, Rachel becoming Empress, and then bringing like more prominently Lucas in as like a third character with his own subplot of being a wannabe alchemist with a love potion. What was your thought process of like going this season, like writing kind of these storylines that would carry over episode to episode?
It was definitely harder. So when we write in Melbourne with Nina Oyama, Gretel Jackson, and Michelle Brazier in a writer's room, and we throw out a bunch of funny, weird experiences that we've all had, especially the girls, because they've really lived this much more than I have. I can bring like friendship stuff too, but there's a lot of things that I learn, from those kind of rooms, which we definitely explore in the show. And this season we kind of set out a goal to make it a little bit more serialized, not completely though, because I like shows that you can kind of tune in whenever and still have a good time, so to speak. But we because it is interesting, that kind of friendship. So it was fun to explore it over a few episodes, and it did make it harder. Anka Vlasen was very important to that process, who is a writer here in America. She works on Koala Man 2, another show that I work on. And we worked together a lot to figure out this kind of arc throughout the series. Like, by episode 7, we want to hit this beat with the friendship. By episode 9, this blah, 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 etc. Those kind of things. And it was difficult, but worth it in the end. We learned a lot from doing it.
Nice. And do you think that, thinking forward into what you might want to do next with this series, is that something you're hoping to continue, or perhaps explore in your other series?
It's actually, YOLO season 3 could go back to just being purely episodic. I think the good thing about this show is whatever we're feeling is right at the time. If we're lucky enough to get season 3, we'll just sit down and just think, what is the ideal situation to do for that? But for me, season 3 feels like I don't know, there's something special about it already as I think about it. It's hard to put into words, but it just feels like it'd be like another evolution of the show. Yeah.
With another fancy name.
If another fancy name to confuse IMDb and the naming conventions of this show.
No, that's a great segue, because I actually wanted to ask about the name change, referring to the season as Silver Destiny. So, does the title refer to a specific storyline? Why did you want to change the name, refresh things?
Todd will be able to speak more to this, but I'll just briefly touch on it. When we came up with Crystal Fantasy, we were trying to come up with something that felt kind of anime-ish, a bit that kind of, those words that seem to work, like bubblegum crisis, those words that work together that seem nonsensical, but kind of have a nice flow or aesthetic to them. And we've got a chat log somewhere of hundreds of names that could have been what Crystal Fantasy was. That were, things that involve deluxe and different kind of remastered.
Genesis.
All these things, and also we love the Pokemon thing, using jewels and gems and colors to kind of add to things, and it just it colors up a title. And Silver Destiny, well, Todd, maybe you can speak to that. Did we come up with that while we're coming up with Crystal Fantasy as an option for season 1? Or
I think we did. It was either on that first. I think we initially came up with Crystal Fantasy. In the sense that it's the fantasy side of things is sort of. I heard that story that the Final Fantasy crew. That was their last ditch effort at making a video game that was going to work, sort of thing. So I suppose there was a little bit of that. And and I think it might have been a little bit later on that we came up with the second and the third season names, just to title in. And I think it was sort of Silver gave you this idea of 2, and then Destiny gave you an idea of an overarching plot. So it's. The third one might not follow the same sort of formula there, but we sort of we sort of tried to make the beats the same so they all fit in together, and then if it was a package deal, it'd just be referred to as YOLO, basically. So
exactly.
But I just love that Adult Swim said, you can do a new name, sort of thing. I haven't heard of a show that has done that before. So
it's great to be able to do that.
Well, Aqua Teen did that in its later seasons, didn't it?
What was that?
Its name. Aqua Teen, did it change its name in its last couple seasons, every season?
I think that's right. And I think their plan might be even they don't hold too hard to the actual to the name as well. I think they're ready to change it whenever they as long as they can get it, sort of thing.
Nice. Well, I think that's coming up on time. Any other final thoughts about what you hope fans will notice and get out of this season of YOLO, and in particular for you, Sarah and Todd, what you hope that fans pay attention to in regards to the characters of Sarah and Rachel this season?
As for me, I just hope people get something out of it, either a bit of entertainment, some laughs. Maybe the kind of the art of everyone that's been involved has been so special and unique. So I hope there's something interesting for everyone, I hope.
Yeah, and I just want to, because when I used to watch Adult Swim cartoons on the little, Adult Swim block on Aussie television late at night, a good 20 years ago, 15 years ago, that feeling that you got watching those Adult Swim shows feels a little bit culty, feels a little bit, something that you can really grab onto. I just want people to be able to associate with the show the same way that I associated with things like Metalocalypse and Harvey Birdman and all those fantastic, Adult Swim shows that happened back in the day. The idea that we've got one that might feel the same way to an audience is really, promising to me. So I hope people get that out of it. What about you, Sarah?
Yeah, this is a show that like we love making and it makes us laugh. And I just really hope that other people can enjoy it and they love it as much as we, they love watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. And I also think it is a show that it rewards you if you keep coming back to it, because there is an evolution of these characters. So I just really hope people enjoy that.
Absolutely. Wonderful sentiments. And yeah, I'm really enjoying the season so far. And I think a lot of fans will when the show premieres January 22nd. So yeah. Yeah, thank you again for facilitating this interview. I know you probably have another one to get to, so I'll just get out of here. But again, thank you so much. Love chatting with you all. Big fan of the show, big fan of your work. Have a wonderful day.